Hey you guys, and welcome back to Alpine Odyssey. We are not doing a speed build. At least not this part of the video. It's not a speed build. We are kind of returning a little bit to the older format. Something a little bit more reminiscent of what we used to do here on the Uthris channel. I'm referring Uthris for some reason as if it's an object, but it's really just me in my name. Ignore that part, and we'll just continue on with building our wonderful, wonderful park here in Alpine Odyssey. We're at the entrance. Why are we at the entrance? You are probably wondering, Uthris, why is the ziggurat not done? Well, that's because it's not, and I don't want to work on it today. Instead, we are going over here. The last live stream, people kind of pointed out that we needed some new buildings up here at the entrance, and I totally agree with that. So I'm going to make an episode out of it because, hey, why not? We have these two blank fields to the left and to the right at these kind of ticket booth areas that we kind of originally planned out. Which, by the way, looking back, boy, old section, lot less detail than I'm used to seeing. But that's fine. That's fine. It looks clean and it's easy to read. And to be honest, I love this area. So we're going to be adding some additional buildings out here that isn't part of the entrance per se, but still very viable to have. On one side, I want to do a stroller rental. On the other side, perhaps some lockers for storage, so people don't have to go all the way back to their cars. They can rent a locker out here and be fine and dandy. So this is kind of a little bit of backstage, but not quite yet. We are gearing up to start working on that soon, but we're just going to hop into it and see what all we can do here. Now, as you know, Alpine Odyssey, the entrance has these two kind of clashing themes, right? This kind of classical European mixed in with this modern kind of steel arched supported structure. So I'm figuring, well, why not just add two new, somewhat modern structures to fit out here? That way we just get a little bit more, just that much more of the clashing two themes that I really enjoy that we have out here on the front side. Wow, look at our biplane up there. All right, let's start with this. First things first, I'm gonna have to get rid of this whole kind of wall, or at least a good section of it. Probably from about here over to here. There we go, and that's gonna allow us to have some room. We're gonna be doing some gray box building here in the initial bit of the episode because I have no clue what I'm gonna make in terms of shapes, and that is always fun. And I figured might as well record my real-time thought process in this. Let me get to the rough stone because that, actually no, we don't need to go to rough stone. We can go straight to modern. So let's go metal. Yeah, sure, metal. Metal is fine. Make it shiny and new. So we can recolor these anything we want eventually. And of course, I do plan for an interior of this structure, just like everything else in Alpine Odyssey. So we'll talk about that, I think, a bit later here. All right, so we have that. And let's go ahead and set the grid size pretty much as low as possible. Grid height, probably 2 meters. That's generally about as accurate as I usually make it. And let us go ahead and try and fill this in a bit. Let's get the rough shape. So we're going to have a little bit of a storage room back here full of all the strollers. Everything else will kind of be more facade and some covering for it, so it's not out just in the open there. And I think I want something like that. Right, this kind of entryway, a little bit off center. We can turn this into a little bit more of a finished plaza space, which would be nice, kind of help fill this area in a little bit more. We'll continue this out too, and then we will walk it back a bit just so we can get a little bit of a divider, perhaps a front office for rental and returns, and then the actual main storage side of things, which will be right back here. Hoping for that just extra little layer of detail, just like this. There we go. And it's so nice that we're able to make the grid a little bit smaller than it was. So I do want this wall panel out from the entryway. Some of you might think that might look a little weird, but fret not. We can kind of fix that, I think, and change it up a bit. So let's do 2 meters from there, and then 2 meters from there, just to make this all symmetrical. In fact, maybe even just 2 more. There we go. So we're gonna have like this arched kind of support structure out front, very modern in its overall building design, I think, which is great. All right, you might even try and reintroduce a little bit of the steel supports that we had on the earlier segments of this build. So the question becomes, why is that so different? I think I need to move that over. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Looks like it. Okay. And we'll copy this frame on this side just to follow that all the way through. And modern structures, usually you have just a couple tiers here. So we're gonna raise this section up. Take that all the way across. And then we'll just lower this like so. And that will give us a little bit of depth without really too much effort. Again, plain-ish building going up here, though we'll add a little bit, hopefully a little bit of the station feel to it as well, especially with this out front area, kind of overlooking this what soon will be a little bit of somewhat of a plaza space, at least I hope. I'll wall this off. There we go. That's looking good. So this is kind of our basic shape here. And I have a couple options. Either I can run a path in here, and you can see it's a little off center from this roadway, which really bugs me. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that. I'm gonna drag it down here so we can kind of get this close, and then I'll move it back into its space as soon as we can. Just like this, just covering up the wooden pillars. There we go. That's a little bit more square onto the roadways. Now at this point, you can see this fence is totally off center. So we'll just rotate the fence a bit, square that up, because that's totally doable. And this one we can leave a little off center on this southern side. I think that's fine. It's not too noticeable, and if we add some bushes to it, I think it'll clean that up quite nicely. You just didn't want to have that over here on this side where it really hits a lot of hard angles at 90 degrees. So we'll leave that kind of open. And that is our little building facade, hopefully. And we can do some signage out front. Obviously some plaza space going in through here, kind of filling this in, and allow us to actually access some of these vending machines. We'll have to build probably a low wall. Nothing too major here, but it is still a roadway, so I'll probably want to get that to be safer, a little bit more safe through there, and then just concrete this out, maybe some hedges and stuff, and hopefully we can get a gate in this section when we start working on the backstage area. So with this, I think the building shape is laid out. We're gonna go into a little bit of a speed build section. It'll be a few minutes. Again, kind of returning to our old format, and a little bit of music, maybe some voiceover, and we'll be right back with a finished stroller rental. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's speed build section. We are taking a look at the front facade. We're going to work a little bit on it still yet on this episode. I want to kind of work on the ventilation up top here as we kind of finish up the, I guess you could say, the exterior or front facade of this building. It is going to be probably a two-parter. We are going to do the interior of this structure on stream this weekend, so if you guys want to come and check that out, you're definitely more than welcome to do so. First things first, let's line up some venting here. All right, and you know, just trying to walk this along the back spine of the building, and it'll come down here to like maybe another little extra air conditioning unit that's going to be on the back side. I'm really excited to do venting on a lot of our buildings. It is a detail that is very much needed, especially on the backstage area. It's going to be a big feature when it comes to the rest of the park. Boy, I did a bad job of aligning these to the correct grid. All right, there we go. Sometimes using world access is pretty much your best bet when it comes to this piece, just simply due to how it was aligned. And you can see the gyro is not really centered on the object. That's still a major problem with Planet Coaster, but something, you know, you can kind of work around if you're patient enough. Sometimes, though, I definitely do not fall into that category, as I really just want to get some things done so that we can move on rather quickly into the next episode. Let's grab these. Now, the corners I don't have a dedicated block for. I kind of have to just simply stitch together as I normally do a lot of the times. It's pretty much a normal thing for us at this point. There we go. And then I'll even kind of copy this piece around so that we can get the other side of this corner and the little detail like the joinery between each of these little sheet metal pieces, or what seems to be sheet metal pieces. Sometimes you just kind of never know. All right, that looks pretty good. At this point, we will grab some of these, copy this over. Sometimes it's easier for you to line things up if you copy it from the same building rather than the original art piece that you want to use here. And we'll center this up to this drop down point, very much like that. And let's run it 2. I think that'll look nice, just to get some separation from this wall. Just to there. And we'll get probably another double tall kind of air conditioning vent unit here. There we go. Just something to give it some height. Copy this over to there. And there we have our first little vent system across this building. You know, going from this side room all the way back to the back room there, though this lonely vent does look a little odd, so what we'll do is simply make it a second layer. If you ever have trouble making these air conditioner units look interesting. Just try and add other shapes onto it. As you can see, we have 2 L shapes now, which is a little too repeating. So this one, we'll do a T-junction. That way it's just that much more unique and looks pretty nice. Right, so let's see. I need a name for this place. And we also need to fill in some of the bushes and shrubs to the left and the right. So let's do that first. As I try and think of a name, I might ask you guys in the comments down below what to call this thing. Names aren't really my strong suit, as you guys know. So if you have any suggestions, let me know down below. I'll pick the one I like the best, and maybe, you know, some wittier, somewhat funny kind of thing, like maybe like all-terrain stroller, just because we have the stroller here on this kind of rock display as like a part of the sign advertising for these rentable strollers here. And yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting. See what you guys come up with. All right, let's add some grass and maybe some overgrown little flowers there, and we'll paint the terrain underneath of it some of this dark color just to get rid of some of that greenery. That looks good. And then over here we'll do very much the same. The plaza, I think, addition over to the right hand side here, I think is something that was really needed for this area. You know, these vending machines were never really part of this front entryway until just now, so I think it's working out for us. We have all of these kind of like, it's like a modern style building, very reminiscent of our station over here. As you can see, we are using a lot of the ironwork with kind of modern whitewash buildings, and then we have this wood front facade stuck onto it, and I think that just kind of breaks up the coloration very nicely. And the back side will probably remain rather simple and industrial, but the front, I think it fits the overall area. Of course, it doesn't really fit the European, but that's kind of our goal when we were making this stuff. You know, we want some facilities being pretty modern, and then this facade being the very stereotypical, almost like a wall. You know, as soon as you pass through this point, you are in Alpine Odyssey proper, and you are good to go at that point. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode of Alpine Odyssey. If you guys enjoyed the episode, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more creative goodness such as this. Go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment down below for the name for our stroller place, and I will see you guys in the next episode.